When they get together and they start to act out and behave badly, it can affect you from head to toe, literally. Hey, this is Dr. A. And what we want to tackle today is how would I know my mast cells are activated? So let's get into that and break it down. The first thing that we want to keep in mind is I'm going to mention a number of body systems here where mast cell activation gives us symptoms. And if you're having these symptoms and they have any effect on your respiratory system, your breathing, maybe triggering asthma, triggering breathing difficulties, or if they have any effect on your heart, changing rhythm, stuff like that, if they have any effect on your brain, consciousness, you need to speak to somebody who does emergency medicine so that the mast cell activation doesn't spiral out of control. So just keep that in mind. In no real particular order, let's just go through the questions I got around the areas of the body and what a mast cell activation would look like. So your skin. Skin is going to react very much like an atopic allergic reaction. So you're going to see things like itching, potentially hive reactions. You might get flushing, redness or sorts of other pallor and color changes. You may have more sweating that goes on. You may have, instead of hives, a general swelling and edema. And then you can also have other rashes. So that you might get an eczematous rash, other types of skin problems. Your eyes, you want to remember that on the front of your eyes, covering the white part of your eye, the sclera, you have a clear membrane that's a lot like saran wrap, plastic wrap, and it's sitting there so you can't see it. But that membrane is a living membrane that's part of the immune system of your eye called the conjunctiva, and it has blood flow going into it, immune cells and everything. So if I have a mast cell activation affects my eyes, I'm going to have swelling of that conjunctival membrane. I'm going to have itching, probably going to have redness, and potentially pain and watering. Now your nose, right next to your eyes, you're going to have potentially, rhinorrhea, running, inflammation. You can have itching, can trigger sneezing, and even swelling of the mucous membranes inside your nose and beyond. Your mouth and throat, this can be very dangerous. You can get actual swelling of the lips and the tongue and the throat with mast cell activation. You can have itching, you can have sore throats, any number of things in your throat and mouth. Lungs, as we talked about, kind of an extension of the upper respiratory system, obviously. So we can also have aggravations of asthma, reactive airway type disease problems with mast cell. We can have chronic wheezing. We can even wind up with a inflammatory type of bronchitis where we get mucus production that increases because of the inflammation. And so in addition to wheezing, we now have extra lower respiratory mucus, which again, we don't want. It'd be very dangerous. Your heart and blood vessels, the cardiovascular system can be affected. You can have a crossover between mast cell activation and POTS. So you might have low blood pressure bouts. You may have other problems that go on, such as tachycardia. So your body is supposed to adjust, for example, to positional changes. You may have an overexuberant heart rate response to positional change, where your heart rate, instead of maybe bumping a little bit, will bump way up when you change position. Your blood pressure can go the opposite direction. Also, mast cell activation in people with underlying reasons for dysrhythmias, also known as arrhythmias, can sometimes aggravate their arrhythmias. We've definitely seen that with people. The digestive system is full of immune tissue, and these are very sensitive to mast cell activation. And so when we think about the digestive system and all of the immune cells that are in there, one of the things we want to think about is that the digestive system, we may be having mast cell problems in the digestive system that seem like other problems. So the constipation, diarrhea, cramping, pain, malabsorption, poor digestion, all of those things can be from a number of reasons, but they can also be part of mast cell activation. This is why we see a lot of gastrointestinal sequelae, gastrointestinal problems with people who have mast cell activation syndrome, mast cell disorders. And then finally, your nervous system, mast cell activation can cause brain fog. It can cause headache. It can cause central pain, which is where your pain threshold changes in your brain. So then you hurt easily peripherally. With the brain fog can come poor memory, confusion, all of those sorts of things. And then because your brain tells you how you're feeling, if your brain becomes inflamed due to mast cell activation, you can have fatigue and other body-wide or constitutional symptoms. This, I hope, answers the deeper questions we got on some of the mast cell content about what's it do in my body. Want to remember that mast cell disorders are actually a quartet of cells. The mast cells are just the famous ones, but there's 3 other sets of cells there. We go in that in other videos. And so when they get together and they start to act out and behave badly, it can affect you from head to toe, literally, and primarily in these body systems, but in other ways too.